I didn't know because they text you in the morning and then they say if that's the.
Perhaps you need to set an alarm or something in the morning just to look and see if you've gotten anything on your phone.
I mean, usually my wife wakes up early.
Are you gonna rely on her? Okay.
I mean, you're honest.
That's what she's there for, rely on
I
her.
might say we do have to rely on
Because you people can't get it together.
Drunk driving with a loaded gun wedged next to his seat, a back of 0.20 comma, that's 2.5 times the legal limit. And when he missed his drug test, he says he overslept, then blames his wife for not waking him up. Today, this man is standing in front of a judge for sentencing, and the excuses have already started. Watch how far they get him.
Okay, so this is case number 26M00062 SD. People City, Michigan versus Michael McWright.
Your Honor, Courtney Rose, on behalf of the people. And good morning, Your Honor, to you and your staff, Attorney Maxwell, doing P number 862. Mr. McRoach stands to my right. Please state your full name from there.
Michael McRae.
All right, well, looks like we're scheduled for a sentencing
That is correct, Your Honor.
and a bond hearing.
I wasn't aware of any bond hearing, Your Honor.
That's what it says here. I'm trying to understand what are you doing?
Try to get hold of the attorney who was available for the bond hearing.
What?
When was I reached out? I mean, it's nothing I can't handle, Your Honor. I just.
Well, let's see. Let's look at the file and see what we got. 'Cause usually I don't schedule those on the same date because it's almost moot at that point. I
Yeah,
mean,
but I had to have a report here, so I wanted to address everything. You should have one.
so, okay, let's see what it was.
March 24th, there was an email sent to the council. Advisor her informing you about the bond violation.
March 24th via email.
Which email was it sent to?
BINM25
That's my return, but that's okay, Your Honor. I mean, I do have this bond report. I'm assuming it's from,
That's it. No show on the ETG
correct.
on March the 14th. And
It's all put it on the list. But I can address it, yeah.
let's see what this says. And then an incomplete on March the 31st.
Correct, yeah. I've had ample time to review this, actually, your court staff has prepared, and actually gave me a printout, so I do like it going on. I can address it, Your Honor, if I might just say, my client did self-report on the 15th to a negative, ETG that day. And then the 31st, the test is still pending, but he did self-report as well after that date as well.
Why does everybody think it's okay to go on a different day?
I don't think that was the case. I know my client's taking with, I'm not gonna compare this to the other guy. My client is really taking full responsibility for it, Your Honor. It's not
So what happened on the 14th, sir?
One of the
the first one, the 14th you said.
Saturday.
It says the individual left the office a message saying he had just awakened and called and found out they needed to test, but did not realize the agency only had morning hours on the weekend.
Never was able to get in there because it was from 6:30 to 9 and I didn't wake up until 9:30. To be able to, because the texts come in at like, I don't know, it come in the morning about 6 o'clock, something like that. And then I didn't answer it because I had a full day of work day before
And so, Your Honor,
early.
my client is taking full responsibility. He's not making an excuse. He just wants to explain what happens. That is, of course, his responsibility and something that he owns up to. However, I think the next best thing that he did was to immediately go test the next day to a negative test. He understands that the court, when they do tell him to do something, he needs to do it to a T, right? And he understands that, but.
Sir, I don't know about the sleeping in. I can appreciate being tired. Trust me, I can. But you can't miss the whole test in the morning.
They have a window between 6:30 in the morning to 9 o'clock.
So what do you do to adjust your schedule to that if you've been working?
I mean, I just woke up like that day. I didn't know because they text you in the morning and then they say if that's the.
Perhaps you need to set an alarm or something in the morning just to look and see if you've gotten anything on your phone.
I mean, usually my wife wakes up early.
Are you gonna rely on her? Okay.
I mean, Your Honor,
That's what she's there for, rely on
I'd
her.
like to say we do have to rely on
Because you people can't get it together.
When I wake up, look at the text, respond back, if you don't have the text that day, text back with C. And then if you do, then, you know, they ask you if you're gonna be able to record, and, you know, like that.
All right, and then it looks like the next one, he just was unable to give a sufficient sample.
Pressure.
You could just say, Your Honor, you got P shy.
I have not heard that term. Okay. Okay, well, let's move on to sentencing. Clearly, if he's sentenced to probation, he'll have to adjust these things anyway.
Absolutely, Your Honor. And I do think it's important, though, I think that both tests have come back negative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
And just as far for the PSI, Your Honor, I have an ample time to review with both myself and my client. There are no additions, corrections, no deletions that need to be made, just simple allocation when ready.
Okay, let me take a quick peek. Okay, what would you like to say, by way of allocution?
We don't appreciate it out here. I'll try to be as brief as possible. I will be brief. But, this case, I digress, actually. My client is taking full responsibility for his actions. There is just one thing, and I respect your probation department. I agree with them, and I understand. I would just like to point out that I don't agree that my client tried to appear as favorable. My client is a very, and again, you don't know my client personally.
Well, I don't know him at all.
Correct. And I've had the opportunity to get to know my client very well. He's a very straight shooter. There's a reason why he fled in this case. And obviously this is not an evidentiary hearing, but if you saw the evidence, my client was very cooperative with officers. He allowed them to search his vehicle. He was cooperative. He's not the type of person that's gonna skew or anything. I think he is complete attempt here, even today, when dealing with these violations, is he's very upfront and honest. And I think it's important to know that he's been that way throughout the entirety of this case. As you see in the report, he's married. You'll have to have a talk with his wife about helping him wake up more to make sure he hits everything. That being said, Your Honor, he's got children. He's a family man. He's an electrician. He's gainfully employed. He's taken this matter very seriously. Aside from obviously, as noted, some late or missed tests, some issues, he's always tested negative. This case has actually been pending since December of 2024. That's when the initial incident happened. Since that date, my client has not picked up a ticket, has not had a problem, criminal matters, nothing. He's been very compliant with bond and doing everything in his ability to stay compliant. I think he's done excellent on bond. I think he's an excellent candidate for probation, Your Honor. The only thing I would ask that be adjusted is, I do believe based on the totality of the circumstances, how long the incident took place and combined.
What do you mean by how long the incident?
How long has marriage been pending? He got charged, and how he's done on bond. I do believe that the 12-month probation period is more appropriate in this matter.
Well, he can ask to be released after half of the term of the probation anyway. So if it was 15, you can get off at 7.5.
I just want to allocate for my clients. I'll say he's done an excellent job. I understand, he understands that he made a poor decision that day. He's happy going was heard, wants to be the best role model for his children. I know that's everything to them. He's learned a lot from this scenario, Your Honor, and he's become a better person from it. So other than my personal request, which I understand and agree with the court, whatever they decide, I know it's in your discretion, Your Honor, I would ask that you file the recommendation.
What would you like to say, sir?
Yes, I accept my responsibilities as what happened that night.
So what did happen that night from your perspective?
I drank and thought that I was able to be able to drive home.
That's the way it always is. But I guess the question is, you don't typically drink more than 2 alcoholic beverages, it says. Doesn't tell me what kind, but it says that's what you had been drinking prior to this offense on a weekend.
Yeah, but Monday through Saturday.
Well, you did score level 0 consistent with educational programs, so they do not indicate a possible alcohol problem. But you sure overdid it this particular time. Because you had a blood draw at a 0.20. So from my experience at a 0.20, most people are passed out. Those are the people that I see at least, and they're driving and they've fallen asleep at the red light, or they make the Michigan U and they're just in the turn lane sleep. They've pulled up to the McDonald's drive-through for food and they're asleep. Car on, foot on brake. The police come knocking on the window. They can't wake them up. People that start driving think they can drive for some reason, and then you see them pulled over like on the side of the freeway asleep. These are all real scenarios that I've seen. So that's what happens at a 0.20. So I guess the question is, how did you get yourself?
I didn't understand how it came to be. that
Yeah.
much. Maybe because I didn't eat or anything like that, but
Well, it says, I'll tell you how. A half pint of Tito's. That's what you said you drank.
I was some shots.
Well, what do you think a shot's gonna do? Why are you drinking a shot? What's the purpose of a shot? To get you what? Okay, well, now answer my question. What's the purpose of a shot? To get you buzzed. I mean, come on. So you got to understand how you got there. Because if you were drinking a half a pint worth of shots of vodka, you know, pull up my little statistic here. This is a good base.
But I think you're right too. I think he equated, because he was at a bar, so I think he equated to about a half a pint. It wasn't out of the red pint, so I believe I think he wanted to try to.
Okay, Mr. Lawyer. Nice try. That's what he said.
No, I understand, but the drinking all occurred at a bar. I just want to make sure you understand, it's not like I have a pint of alcohol. But I think he said that's about the amount he drank.
Yeah.
He's being.
I don't care if it was at home and he actually saw the pint, or if he was at the bar and he just kept pouring it. He estimated it to be a pint. It's a pint. I have a pint. I mean, let's see. Okay, this is a real good case for this. So, not only did you have a half of a pint of Tito's, you had a beer. And you're wondering how you got to 0.20. So, this is a statistic I found. I looked it up again here because I didn't have the original paper that I found it on. But the math is there. It's a mathematical equation. And the question is, what has the most amount of alcohol? A shot of vodka, your Tito's, or a beer?
You know,
That's what I would have picked. Nope.
beer.
Nope. They have the same amount of alcohol. The math is,
That's really? I didn't know that.
yes, sir. So watch your drinking too. 1.5 ounces of liquor at 40% alcohol is 0.6 ounces of pure alcohol. That's what your vodka has. And then your beer is 5% alcohol, also has 0.6 ounces of pure alcohol.
Your Honor, I'm getting ripped off at the bar. Let's make buying
And
liquor.
people think, oh, I'm drinking a beer, harmless. No, it's not. People are drinking shots of, thinking your mind equivalent, shots of vodka in the hot summertime, thinking, oh, this beer is so refreshing. No, it's not. It's actually going to do just the opposite of quenching your thirst. It's going to dry you out and make you high. So, not only did you drink who knows how many shots of Tito's at half of a pint, you topped it off with another shot.
Straight liquor, so it was with Red Bull, so maybe I don't know if that heightens it or
It might make you feel hot and feel jumpier, but the alcohol is the alcohol. That's that's the effect it's gonna have. But just know that you gotta measure what you're doing when you're drinking. And you gotta be prepared in advance. So you can't go to the party, you can't go, and you can drink that, you just don't drive if you're gonna drink like that. Or take somebody, and they invariably somebody says, I had my friend and they left or something. So I ended up, no, just call the Uber or Lyft and leave your car there, because you can't make the decision when you're drunk because your mind is already kind of intoxicated. So it can't make the best logical deductive choice for you. You got to do that ahead of time. So then you stick to it. You say, oh, yeah, I said I'm calling Uber. Don't matter. Then you won't be in the mindset of, I can drive this car. It's only going a mile down the road. And people get killed a mile down, trying to get home in a mile. So you got to kind of think about, that's why I like to kind of educate on this topic, because people don't think about that. People don't think about how much alcohol really they're drinking. So in your case, now you see how you got there. Okay. This is your first alcohol related offense, though. They say it appears you might have a tolerance to it. Maybe so, as you were able to still function. Not very well, though, but you did try to function. And the officers say you're driving sort of erratically in your lane. So, lesson to be learned, I'm sure. All right. People wish to be heard on this.
Your Honor, I just ask that the court follow the recommendation as far as the firearm safety class. I think that it's pretty dangerous to have a loaded weapon in the car.
Yeah.
In the area where it was found.
And where was it found?
It was shoved between the center console and the driver's seat, which we've seen in previous cases where accidents can happen. If the weapon is loaded, somebody hits it accidentally. So I think that's a very important thing to know.
Always.
Well, here's the thing. The reason I think that they have this law is because who wants a drunk person with a gun? Because you're not yourself. You can't even control yourself the same way you would if you had no alcohol. So who wants you to have a gun and be possessing that while you're under the influence? And she's right, things do happen. We did have somebody that had a gun in their pocket, licensed to carry it, and went to reach it and shot himself. It just happened. So luckily that didn't happen. So I think this recommendation is fair. I'll reduce the term to 12 months of probation. I really think in your case, this is probably a one-time aberration. It's way outside of the pattern of drinking you normally report. And I think you'll really be thinking about shots of anything, and definitely be thinking about beer as being the equivalent of shots, and only have one or two. So the probation oversight fees are $480. The fines and costs on the one count of operating while intoxicated, it's going to be $700. And the jail will be an alternative. 4 days credit for one, with 3 days in the impact weekend. So if you go there, there's no jail in the sentence. Do 2 days community service at a nonprofit agency. 10 the victim impact panel. They recommend outpatient substance abuse treatment. We'll do that. No alcohol, no unprescribed drugs. There will be testing. We'll have you do AA meetings 2 times a week.
Your Honor, would you be able to send those?
Yeah, he can do them online.
You can do Zoom. Okay.
I would suggest you at least go to some of them in person because that's what the camaraderie really is. 2 times. People with your BAC, I usually do 6.
And I'm not, it's just because of his work schedule, so if you can do Zoom, I know he's more.
I said 2. Why y'all trying to talk me in the
No,
door?
I just want to make sure you're okay with it.
Okay. Yeah, Zoom is fine, as long as he goes. And you have to turn in the sheet that you were there. Do not drive without any type of license issued by the Secretary of State. Do not frequent places where alcohol served or sold. Primarily we're talking bars and nightclubs, parties like this. You could take your wife to dinner, but it should be at a restaurant where it's primarily their goal is to eat food. And if they just happen to have a wine list, she can drink, you can't. But don't go to a bar where it's primarily a bar and they just happen to serve food, if you understand the difference. Maintain employment. Pay a $75 crime victims' rights fee, $100 substance abuse assessment fee. Emergency services reimbursement for the arrest, prosecution of blood draw, $600. Counsels retained, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
So no counsel fee. S2 count 2, fine is $250. Concurrent term of probation. No jail. And let's see. He's got to forfeit the weapon. Okay, so you gotta possess no weapons then. At least no firearms. And to go to a firearm safety class. And this is 12 months of probation, but after 6 months has passed, if you would like to see if you could be early terminated, there is a form that you can request, fill out, tell us, why you think you should be terminated early. And they'll send that form to the prosecutor. If the prosecution has no objection, the form will come to me. If I have no issue with it, I'll just sign off on it on paper and you'll be released early. If the prosecutor has an objection, if the court has some questions or an objection, they will just set it for hearing and come back and make a determination if that's what we'd like to do or not, okay? All right. And that's going to complete the sentence of the court.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate you having faith in my client. I hope everyone here has a great weekend, a much needed weekend, and we'll be safe and see you next time.
All right, we'll see you then. He'll wait for his probation order and then head on down there.
Drunk at 0.20, loaded gun, missed tests, blamed his wife, and he walked out with 12 months probation and no jail time. The judge called it a one-time aberration and gave him a second chance. Was that the right call, or did this defendant's excuses signal something the court chose to overlook? Drop your verdict in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for more real courtroom breakdowns.